decades, Americans claimed politics decided where they lived. Then migration data showed something awkward. Almost 32% of movers each year move to places that don't align with their political ideology. You see, only 30 to 35% of Americans follow politics very closely in typical years, according to Gallup poll data. And 54% of Americans say they don't let politics into their decision making. People move to places for other reasons. So today we're looking at the real reasons Americans move to places that contradict their politics. Let's take a look. Number 10, most movers think it's temporary. Moving for a job sounds logical on paper. New city, fresh start, slightly better paycheck, maybe a skyline instead of a strip mall. The recruiter version always works out great. And for about 3/4 of those people, it is great, and they stick around. Only 1 out of every 4 people that move for work end up regretting the location. Not the I kinda miss home, actual regret. So when people move someplace for a job, their politics don't come into play. They moved for a job. The weird thing about moving for a job, 75% of the time, they decide to stick around after the job is gone, or they just stick with the company forever, even if they planned on it being temporary. This is a big thing that's happened in Dallas over the last 2 decades. Big companies from California, New York, and the Midwest have moved to Texas. And part of the reason they did move there was politics. Less taxes can be associated to politics, but the people move for the job, and then regardless of what the politics of the state are, they don't care. I mean, they're going to stick it out. And yes, that does play a part in why Texas is sort of turning purple-ish. It's getting close. It's not there yet, but it's been getting close. Now, I said it only plays a part. The major problem with Texas turning purple is their young voters. Since 1992, more first-time registered voters in Texas have gone Democrat or independent over Republican. People never consider that when they start blaming Californians for ruining Texas. They always get all pissy in the comment section. Well, don't move here and create the same problem you left. That's not why they're coming there. They're coming there for a job most of the time. Number 9, people don't move towards values. They move away from stress. Here's a typical story. A couple leaves a metro area they once bragged about living in. Not dramatically, not angrily, no political speech, no social media manifesto, just a Tuesday night conversation at a kitchen table while one of them calculates daycare on a phone and the other one checks traffic for tomorrow morning. The commute is 67 minutes if everything goes perfectly. It never goes perfectly. They don't say, I want a place that matches our values. They say, I can't do this every day anymore. That's how most moves actually work. Not ideology, exhaustion, pressure, and stress. Researchers who track migration patterns keep finding the same thing. The top reasons Americans relocate are housing costs, commute times, safety concerns, and general cost of living. So they move. The first 6 months, it feels like oxygen. Parking is easy. Groceries don't require a 10-person line at every register. The kids play outside without a background soundtrack of sirens. Nothing about their worldview changed, but their ulcer got better and so did the knot in their neck. So once they move, something interesting happens. They recreate the same habits. They order the same stuff on Amazon. They move to the same type of neighborhood. Same expectations for services. Same complaints, just quieter. The reason is they didn't move towards an idea. They moved away from pressure. Migration data shows this over and over again. People leaving expensive metros tend to pick places that resemble the lifestyle they had, just cheaper and calmer. Suburban families leave dense areas and land in suburban areas somewhere else. Urban professionals pick smaller cities with similar amenities. The culture transfer is gradual but predictable. People don't reinvent themselves, they just decompress at a new location. Which is why, after a few years of moving, the conversation sounds familiar again. Not identical, just softer. They don't move for politics, they just want less pressure and stress. Number 8, jobs cluster in blue areas, paychecks stretch in red ones. The U.S. economy basically runs like a 2-bedroom apartment where one room has all the outlets and the other one has all the floor space. The big paychecks live in dense metro areas where coffee costs $7 and parking requires a minor legal proceeding. That's where the careers are, the promotions are, and the recruiter insists you must exist in person to attend meetings that probably could have been done in an email. Then there's the other half of the country, the places where your mortgage doesn't require a co-signer from a venture capitalist firm and you can own a garage without inheriting it from your grandparents. So people go to expensive cities to earn money and then immediately start planning how to live somewhere where the money actually functions as money. Careers pull them, housing pushes them out. And the moving truck has become a symbol of the modern workforce. It isn't political migration, it's financial survival with a forwarding address. The modern migration pattern looks less like ideology and more like a household checking account having a nervous breakdown. Number 7, lifestyle beats policy. Most movers don't compare tax codes. They compare daily routines and things they want. Polling data shows that only 26% of movers say they moved or won't move because of taxes. So it's really only coming into play on about 26% of people, or at least it's playing a major role in the decision. I'm sure for most Americans it's put there in the back of their head a little bit, and it might have a little consideration, but only about 26% of the people say it's a deal breaker. The real questions they want to know is about lifestyle. Can I buy a house? Can my kids play outside? Is there good hiking? How many dog parks? Is it near a major airport? Do they have a major sports team? That's a big one, believe it or not. What's the nightlife like? These are the most searched things when it comes to moving. Can I buy a house does fall into the cost area, but it also falls into lifestyle. A renting lifestyle and an owning lifestyle are very different. I can tell you from my experience, one of the most asked questions I get is about the lifestyle. I get a ton of questions. How are they with mixed families? How are they with the LGBT community? Are there a lot of retirees here? I get those questions and emails every single week. I rarely get questions about the tax rate. That being said, quality of life decisions masquerade as political ones afterwards. Humans rationalize their moves. They don't pre-optimize them. Number 6, remote work broke the old map. Now, in recent years, we've started to see the South sort of fill up with people. For the longest time, people are just flooding out the South and the Midwest. In the last 10 years or so, we've seen a little bit of a migration shift where everyone's heading back to the South and the Midwest. A lot of that has to do with remote work. Obviously, one of the main reasons, like we've already discussed, is jobs. People move for jobs more than anything else. Whether it's a career or a transfer, or you just need a job. People move for survival. We've done this since we were living in caves. These days, instead of migrating to chase woolly mammoths, we chase jobs, and where the jobs are, people move to. Well, for the longest time, and still to this day, the South doesn't have a lot of jobs. Either does the Midwest. Sure, you could cherry pick a few cities here and there, but overall, they don't have many jobs. Then something changed. Remote work. Now, more and more people, especially ones with higher education, don't need to live in a big city to apply their trade or whatever they went to school for. So you could move to the Midwest or some small town in the South and still be a financial advisor or still an accountant for some firm working in Chicago. According to Pew Research, 37% of Republican voters have college degrees. Democrat voters, it's 51%. Back in the early 2000s, only about 32% of Republicans had college degrees. So you got a bunch of people getting out of college with that degree in hand, and there was a better chance they were a Democrat. So that's why so many American cities are blue cities. There's other reasons, but this is a major reason for it. It's not 100% policy. Other factors are there, and who's got the college degree is one of them. My opinion, the major problem almost every single city has, population density. More people means more problems. Doesn't matter who's running the show, if you got too many people living there, the city's gonna suck. So all that being said, because of remote work, people keep coastal salaries and move inland. This has created the weirdest demographic in modern America. Urban earners living in suburban and rural lives while keeping metropolitan opinions. This is how the American map was kind of laid out. Now Wi-Fi scrambled it. Number 5, people want different things at different ages. In their 20s, they want proximity to opportunity, sort of like I said when they got out of college. In their 30s, they wanted affordability. In their 40s, they wanted stability. When they get over 50, they want predictability. Politics often says the same, while life stages need to evolve. So relocation looks ideological from the outside, but chronological from the inside. So you might have people that work their whole life in Southern California, and when they're retiring or they want to raise a family, they don't want to do it there. They want to make money there, which they do. And that's what most of us do in our 20s and 30s. You want to conquer the world. When you hit 40, you just want your world not to collapse. And your world's got a better chance of collapsing if you're living in a major city with those prices. So a lot of migration is just aging in motion. Number 4, community and family matter more than governance. Turns out your daily happiness has a lot less to do with state legislation and a lot more to do with whether the guy next door returns your trash cans after the wind redecorates the street. People constantly move to places that don't match their supposed political identity because their sister lives there, or their college buddy swears it's great, or the neighbors actually wave instead of filing noise complaints because you walk too loud down the street. Humans pick familiarity over ideological purity every single time. And once they settle in, they don't arrive with a grand plan to change the town. They just start nudging it towards whatever feels normal to them. Nobody moves to a small town and then the second week runs for mayor. They just moved there really to live. Sure, they got different grocery store requests, different expectations, different complaints about city council. Not a takeover, just comfort creeping in one HOA meeting at a time. That's it. I have family members that wanted out of Southern California and they moved up to the Pacific Northwest. They could have moved to Texas. They could have moved to Colorado, maybe even Idaho. That really fits more of their political identity, but they moved up closer to me. Family. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm sure the fact that they have pensions coming in and Washington doesn't touch that at all. Almost anyone's going to choose family or friends over who's running the state. Now, myself, I've often thought about moving to Washington. It has a lot of the same things I like about Oregon and no state income tax. They're, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people complain, they're relatively the same state as far as environment goes, as far as weather. So to get what I want out of Oregon in Washington and still make more money, it's a no-brainer. But logic doesn't really align with my family's here. My daughter, my grandbaby, a lot of friends in this neighborhood. That plays more a part in my life than paying a little extra in taxes or whatever. And that's obviously how it is for most Americans. So in a nutshell on this one, family and friends over politics. Almost every time. Number 3, the cost of living. The real national election. Every summer in America, there's an election nobody televises. Nobody debates. No yard signs. No relatives arguing on Facebook. Just a reservation of U-Haul trucks and a stack of cardboard boxes that somehow cost more than the furniture that's going inside them. A family opens 3 envelopes the same afternoon. Mortgage or rent renewal, insurance premium, grocery receipt that reads like a car payment. Nobody announces a political awakening. Nobody quotes a philosopher. Someone just looks at their bank account and thinks, you know what, I gotta start looking at houses elsewhere. That sentence moves millions of people every single year. Census migration data shows a steady pattern. High-cost states like California, New York, and Illinois have been losing domestic residents, while lower costs such as Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and the Carolinas keep gaining them. Not a trickle either. Surveys done with movers consistently see housing affordability, taxes, and everyday expenses as their top motivation, far ahead of politics. 6 months later, the same family lives in a place where the grocery store doesn't feel like a luxury retailer, and the monthly payment no longer requires a moment of silence before opening the banking app. They didn't switch teams, they just voted for a different budget. Campaign speeches can inspire people, but nothing in modern history outperforms the moment the housing payment, insurance bill, and grocery totals all show up on the same day and decide the election for you. You've elected a new place to live. Number 2, the decision made by math. America isn't actually divided by red states and blue states. That's just a bedtime story we tell people who still watch cable news. We're divided into 2 much simpler tribes, the cheese-haver elites and the monthly payment martyrs. The map on CNN is about identity. The map on Zillow is about money. People love to say that they moved for the culture or the walkability. Translation, my landlord tried to raise my rent the cost of a Rolex, and I finally realized I didn't actually like avocado toast that much. Nobody packs up a U-Haul because they suddenly developed a deep spiritual passion for suburban zoning laws. They packed up because their car insurance premiums now look like a down payment for a yacht they'll never step foot on. Politics is the performance you put on for your friends and the internet. Economics is the spreadsheet you hide from your therapist. You've seen this person. They spent years acting like their city was the only place on earth with oxygen. Then suddenly they're a long-distance ambassador for a town they couldn't find on a map 6 months ago. Their values didn't change. Their ability to buy eggs without checking their credit card statement did. Turns out your revolutionary zeal starts to fade when your mortgage is smaller than what you used to pay for a studio apartment that wouldn't fit a king-size bed. So while everyone online is screaming about the soul of the nation and how Democrats or Republicans are ruining the country, a couple is sitting at a kitchen table staring at a renewal notice that looks like a ransom note. And in that moment, every political hill they were willing to die on gets bulldozed for one simple, desperate question. How many hours do I have to drive before I can afford a house that's not sandwiched between a Hyperion plant and the highway? All right, before we get to number 1, I thought I would share with you the 15 most popular searches for people thinking about moving. Here they are. Number 1, cost of living and housing. Number 2, jobs and income potential. Number 3, safety, crime. 4, schools. 5, dog parks. 6, climate, weather. 7, commute, transportation. 8, outdoor activities. 9, healthcare. 10, moving companies. 11, nightlife. 12, museums. 13, bridges. 14, airport. 15, taxes and affordability. Do you know where the first one that really nails down politics is? 28th. Strip clubs was 24. So strip clubs matter more to people than politics of a location. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, housing prices beat philosophy every time. Now, we've been heading this direction this whole list, and this kind of is the number 1 thing, and most of us understand that. You can argue about zoning laws online all day. You could criticize the governor. You could send out memes for days on end, but the mortgage payment wins in about 12 seconds. Most movers didn't wake up wanting culture change. They woke up to a rent renewal email that looks like they purchased a year's supply of lap dances. Nobody wakes up on a Saturday morning, pours some cereal, and announces, "Honey, I've been reading the municipal tax structure and the governor's SAT scores from 45 years ago, and I'm ready to change states." That's not how moves start. Moves start when the lease renewal email arrives written in the tone of someone pitching season 4 of your apartment. Same walls, same carpet, same neighbor who practices drums at midnight, but the price now includes a market adjustment. That sounds suspiciously like a landlord discovered a podcast about passive income. At that moment, people don't develop admiration for other states' policies. They develop curiosity about square footage they could afford without performing financial gymnastics. They open Zillow the way people used to open weather apps, just checking. Purely informational. Then they notice the same monthly payment buys a yard, a garage, and a refrigerator that dispenses water instead of mystery humidity. Housing data keeps backing this up. Surveys of movers consistently rank housing costs as the number 1 reason Americans relocate, far ahead of politics or culture. Regions with fast rising rents tend to export residents, while metros with lower prices to income ratios pull them in like gravity. So the move happens, not a rejection to one place's ideology, not a love letter to another governor, just a reaction to a rent increase large enough to make people learn a new area code. In the end, politics is a preference, shelter is a survival. All right, that is today's video. I hope it made sense to you. I hope you got some information out of it. Now everyone, share this on Facebook or wherever with the relatives you have that think everyone moves because of politics. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.